So when we jump in, we look at the Nasdaq. I mean, obviously, you're breaking out. You're moving higher. You look very strong. We've talked about this the past 2 or 3 days. You look really good from a technical standpoint. Now, fundamentally, there's a few issues that are coming in line, and it's like the market's pushing them away. So we have to talk about this as well. I do want to talk a little bit about what's happened with Trump and how this could affect our economy and how there might be a few plays stemming from this as well. And then we have big news also with Japan. This was kind of crazy as well. We have a lot to talk about here in the video today. But before we get into that content, I ask you to do 2 things. Consider liking, consider subscribing. As you can see, every single day I make content for you, so you're prepared on the market, fundamental as well as technical, and you get a good viewpoint of the market. I'm transparent as possible, so I'm telling you winners, losers, everything in between. I try to help you learn from the losers and then focus on what we can do to improve our winners along the way as well. I will also say consider joining and subscribing to the Instagram. I don't like to post as many shorts here on YouTube, but we post a lot short form content, quick news articles, quick tips, and then other trading things as well, as far as new patterns and things to help you get a little bit of an edge. If you're in Instagram, that link is down below. Today is the newsletter day as well. Make sure you're subscribed. This is absolutely free. The newsletter will be sent out already. If it has already not been sent out, you can get it still. The link is down below. Absolutely free. As you can see, we're not selling you anything. It's a viewpoint of the week, news articles that will be coming out as well, and then what you need to know on some of our favorite stocks to be prepared for this week also. And last thing, the Discord. We have about 5 spots available. This is lagging. It just shows up slower than usual, but there's 5 total spots available. So if you're interested, these spots will be closed until most likely the beginning of next month. So take advantage of this while you can. Let's get to it. So the first thing I want to talk about, actually, I don't want to go over technicals just yet. I kind of want to talk about what's happening here. I've seen a lot of questions about this. Like, what's going to happen if the United States loses its dominance with the petrodollar? And I would say that that's already long gone. I would say the dominance there that ship has sailed. Primarily, we're going through the Chinese yuan right now. We saw the deal was happening in Brazil. We saw what's happening with multiple other nations. And now Japan is the newest one. Now, we had some interesting discussions in Discord, and we'll have more throughout the week. So if you're in Discord, just be on the lookout. And we'll have some here also on the channel. But it's not surprising based on what Japan's been doing with their treasury and with, their bonds, that they have to do this now. We've also seen what's happening as they're doing cuts across the board now. So if you're not familiar, just so you know, OPEC, they're now cutting production of oil, barrels of oil, throughout the end of the year. I believe it's like 500K to start, then it's going all the way up to like 1.4 or 1.5 million. That's a massive cut in production, which again, what's been the biggest factor in raising the price of inflation, raising inflation overall, fundamentally, it's been, in my opinion, what's happening here with oil. Okay, oil has been kind of the fuel on the fire, or at least the initial match that made everything kind of combust and blow up, right? And so this has been the question of, if oil starts to rise again, can we still do well and maybe conquer inflation? And I do believe if oil starts to rise rapidly, right, the price per barrel and the price overall, I think inflation will reignite and we'll have a big issue on our hands. Be prepared this week to see Biden make thousands of comments on this, okay? The White House is going to talk about this nonstop. But yes, very big focal point there. The next thing, so this is interesting. I made a short about this, but so Twitter and Elon Musk, he made a comment on March 18th, March 17th, I believe. And he basically said if Trump gets arrested, that he's easily going to win the election. And it's an interesting viewpoint because today, or within 24 hours, he was just indicted, arrested, question mark, quotation, whatever you want to say about that, right? And since this has happened, he's already raised an additional $4 million for his campaign. It seems like the more that the left attacks him, the stronger his base is and will become. I think that's like a common sense analogy to take here, and it's highly likely. So again, I hate to mention speculative names, I really do, but DWAC, not gonna lie, interesting name down here. Now, again, I have no position, have no stake. I think you got to be watching these guys though, especially if we start to get closer to the race. This is going to start getting interesting, specifically with DWAC. I think DWAC, again, I'm not going to say fair value is $100. I'm not going to say it's $90, but I mean, it could get back to 20 in a hurry. It could get back to 25, 30 in a hurry. So something to keep on your charts, especially as you are breaking out of this. And again, you do not hear me mention the smaller names whatsoever. Very, very, rare here on the channel. So, but let's go back into technicals. Let's talk about where we're at on Nasdaq and overall, viewpoints of the week. Now, I want to talk about this pennant that we had here. We were talking about you're making lower highs, higher lows. You broke down, and then boom, we shot up. Now, it was interesting because we did make a bit of a lower low here, but then we quickly got bought up with a bullish engulfing, and we just kind of rode that 90 MA nonstop, to where we're at now. Now, if I'm looking at this chart for myself, I'm going to tell you, the more I look at this, the more I view it from a sense of it looks like there's more room to go. Because when you zoom out, we're going to go to something about the daily chart so you can see. Let's look at where we're at and kind of where we can go from here. And if we really get that, let's just bring these rays so we can see where, swing highs are and where we're kind of moving right now. You could argue of a little bit at 13.4, but really there's kind of some illiquidity here. So we're just looking, right? We're just going back in the past. So 13.4 above 13.2 was the target, which I think we're going to hit pretty quickly and easily. But after that, it's also pretty illiquid till we get up to 13.7. You can go to the 4 hour and get a better look there of really, what's happening at this level. But in my opinion, I still believe you look illiquid here. Very easily could just cut through this like butter and cut through this like butter. So that's what I'm watching here on Nasdaq as you're retaining all this strength in the market. And specifically, just on technicals. And I know people get upset. They're like, Tyler, fundamentally you say we're bearish, but we're going up. I'm like, look, I can't argue with the trend. We had the video yesterday going over market structure. And as long as the trend continues to make higher highs and higher lows, what do? You fight the trend, you lose money. That's been the name of the game for the past basically 2 years. And so now we're starting this little bit of a trend to the upside. And I mentioned as well, you don't have to have outlandish volume, but even on the breakout yesterday, on Friday, when we broke above 13.2, we got increased volume, which gives us a little bit of more certainty about the confirmation on this breakout. And if you want more details on the key levels of everything to watch, again, the newsletter has all that for you, right? So that's free. It's all down below, right? We're not selling you nothing. It's just we wanted to give you more free information. Take it as you will. Now, going into ES, I get a little bit more interesting here because the same thesis goes for when we were looking at ES, okay? What was the statement there, okay? The statement on ES was, if the SPY, which is heavily held by two sectors, we have semiconductors and we have the banking finance sector, right? XLF, for instance, KRE, right? That makes up a hefty bit of SPY. And if we look at SPY, we said if the semiconductors could roll off, SPY would probably just get its knees, kicked out from underneath it, right? But now the same thing goes for the upside opportunity. If the banking sector can start to bounce, the ES and SPY have a lot of room. As you can see, we broke above that supply level. We mounted. As you can see, we clear cut, right? You push up, retest, push up. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful structure. And now we're continuing. So if we look here, I think you got to be overall looking for this range. And it's a bigger range. You hate to see it, but 41.75 up to 4,200. That's where we're looking at right now. We didn't call this necessarily a supply, but I will still say it's going to be tough to get through it. And we're getting there in a hurry. Okay. And so that's what we're looking at right now. Now, when I go to SPY, because a lot of you want to see specifically what's happening with SPY, you're moving really good. A lot of people were saying, well, you're not going to get above 404. We talked about that a lot here on the channel as well, going to the 2 hour chart. And you did, right? And I want to say one thing. People always say is, you're giving me financial advice or this. This is not financial advice. But if I had to say anything that was financial advice that I would say is get the hell off of Twitter, get the hell off of social media. And if you're watching, and YouTube is social media, so you're watching still, but start to do your own work. Start to really research what's happening. Start to really get an understanding of the market. Don't just be blindly following people, including myself. Don't just say, okay, well, Tyler said today he was right about Home Depot. His next play has to be right. That's not trading, guys. You have to start doing your own research. You have to start taking accountability and responsibility for your positions and how you're making money, how you're trading. Because at the end of the day, if you lose money, the guy on YouTube, the guy on Twitter, the guy on Instagram, TikTok, they don't care about you. really. I mean, and that's the thing. If you come on the channel and you're like, well, Tyler, I lost $500 yesterday. I probably lost money as well if you're taking a specific trade that I took. So at the end of the day, I care more about my position than I do yours. And that's just me being transparent, right? You don't pay me. You don't do anything like that. So you have to understand that. I value my subscribers, but you have to understand at the end of the day, from a content creator perspective, at the end of the day, you're either one, working for clicks, or you want to be right. That's the only way you're really out here making content on finances. You either want to be right and you're betting on yourself being right, or you just want clicks and you're trying to talk about hype stuff. The end. That's it. And so I try to be right as much as possible. That's the name of the game. That's the brand here at Option Drops, is to be accountable and to be right more than we're wrong, right? Or else you wouldn't be watching. And so when we look at SPY, you quickly mount 404, which everyone said we weren't going to do. You break local highs as well, which another thing of beauty. Break 407 with ease. Hit it, mount, push up again, and we're just tracking up now. So again, in my opinion, I'm looking to this range up here to 414 all the way up to 418. Now it's my collect a little bit outlandish, big level, and you're gonna start hitting turbulence once you hit around 413, 414. But still, this is what I'm looking for. I still think you have $3-4 of upside here on SPY. Personal opinion, going into Qs, giving you a better visual here. I'm gonna talk about some stocks I'm liking here in a second as well. But Qs, as you can see, just running the show here, right? Clear as day, right? Just easily broke it, mounted, pushed up, textbook, right? We end the week where? Right at a key level, right at our swing high we had right there. We had a little gap. I think we filled as well. You have a lot of room here on Qs, almost $10 of upside. But I wanted to just show you, right? If you watch the educational video from Saturday, yesterday, look at what happens. Key level, break, retest, push. And sometimes we overcomplicate things, but that's all it really takes. We'd say, oh, well, we have to fill this gap. Oh, well, we have to do X, Y, and Z. But if you're just making new highs and mounting previous highs, then you're in a structurally bullish movement, structurally bullish behavior in the market. And that's what we have to look at. Let's go into Dow for a second here, because obviously I like some Dow names. Going into Dow, get a look at what's happening. Oh my gosh. So Dow is one of the more interesting names here. And I think we could start seeing more love on Dow and on SPY because of oil and gas names as well, because I think there's oil names that are creeping into my watch list, and I'm probably gonna start buying some come tomorrow morning. Now, looking at Dow, okay, quick visual. Similar pennant, broke down, and it was looking weak. Up until the end of this past week, you were weaker than everything. Weaker than the ES, weaker than Nasdaq, and it was like, man, Dow has no strength. And you were kind of even making a little bit of a bear flag here on the daily. But then you mount the 9 EMA on the daily time frame, and you're pushing up. If the Dow can get back above 34K, this thing has real momentum and real strength. We can see 34K. It's been a big level. We've trended above for a few days, but we ultimately get knocked back down. And so that's why I'm watching this for myself. Okay. And so looking at Dow, there's a few names I like. Obviously, Home Depot. It's been one of the best names out there. We mounted the 200 moving average. We're pushing up to the next 200 moving average, which I believe is going to be on the daily, which is at 300 right here. That was target number one. We got it at 382, but ultimately you can go up and fill this gap near 313. So Home Depot, loving it. You broke in structure, that little descending wedge you had going on there. Beautiful structure. I like it. But at the end of the day on Friday, there was another name in the Dow that caught my attention. Caterpillar. Now, Caterpillar has my attention for a few reasons, but I believe you have a little bit of illiquidity, if you will, here. So I think if you can get above this 229, 230 range, you can start pushing back up. We also have a daily gap around 240. So Caterpillar, I love it to that upside opportunity. Again, similar type of play as Home Depot, except Caterpillar has been moving inherently more bullish than almost every other name in the Dow, right? Caterpillar and Boeing, but Caterpillar's at all-time highs. So if you don't know, you zoom out on Caterpillar, this is all-time highs at 266, right? So you have a little bit of a push down and you're pushing back up. So it makes sense as well to get a retest of that 242 because it was at previous swing highs and previous all-time highs that we had back from May. So May 2021. So that's why I like here. I think there's a lot of opportunity. I love what I'm seeing. Minimum upside 233, 232. Cat, loving the name. Keep an eye on it. If I'm looking at any contracts as well, I'm doing a lot of shares right now because I want to have a more mitigated risk approach to this market right now. So I'm going heavy into shares and I'm doing smaller contracts on options, a little bit more shorter dated because I want to take advantage of this movement as much as possible while you're moving this aggressively. Because I still think in the longer run that we have a lot of downside potential, specifically looking at the September chain, December chain. A lot of question marks are there. Okay, that's my opinion. So that's what I'm looking at there. I love Caterpillar. Now, there's a few other names I'm liking that a little bit, bigger caps, tech names I'm liking. Amazon, I love what I'm seeing here. The 200 daily moving average as well. Take a quick look here. Let's go to the 200. You can bring that up right there. So we can see a few things. So we have the 200 daily moving average at 107. That is my target right now. I started buying near 102, 101.8. I have shares and I love the options as well here. And I love what happened here on, I believe it was Friday. So if we look at the Friday, what was happening, let's bring back up that daily. But we've kind of got some consolidation above resistance, okay? That 102.5 level, that was huge. That was a 2018, 2019 high. And anytime we've mounted that, we've gotten great movement. For instance, going back to what happened here, January 31st, February 1st, right? You mount that level, spend some time above it, and then boom, we shoot up. Granted, I think we had a little bit of good news, but still, that's what I'm looking for. So just look at previous levels here, and that's what we're watching and wanting to see. So I love what I'm seeing here. I think there's a lot of opportunity here, and that's what I'm trying to take advantage of. So I like Amazon a lot as well. Now, there's some more speculative names. You have Microsoft, you have NVIDIA, and you have AMD. AMD is the other one on my list. So NVIDIA continues to push to new highs. Now, I could see the argument of a head and shoulders possibly forming out here, but I side more with the better opportunity, and I like the upside opportunity here specifically. Because if you zoom out, you get a really good instance of what's kind of going on here. And if I show you just some of these levels, I think the risk to reward of the upside just personally makes sense from a stock perspective for myself. So again, this is one of those names I bought stock on because I want to mitigate all types of risk here. So when we're looking here as well, right? I think 104 to 109 as well. Target number 1, target number 2. So if we can break back above 99.7, back above 100 and mount that level, I think we easily push up. Giving you a visual of the counterpart NVIDIA, you're already starting to see a little bit of that breakout and continuation on the horizon, which lines back up into what we're looking from the Nasdaq, especially in the short term. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. That's the visuals. Those are my favorite names. If you have questions, comment down below. But we're still seeing continuation from Apple and all the big names that have carried us through this right now. Now, the last name on the list. Okay, the last one on the list, boys. I love oil names right now. I'm becoming a fan. Warren Buffett, speaking to mi corazón, right? I'm liking Oxy from a perspective of the least amount of risk, okay? Now, Oxy, downside risk is like 55, 56. What I'm probably going to do, I like the share opportunity here. You already kind of broke out of this trend that you had going down, right? You broke out of the lower highs are being established. Now we're making a higher high on some of these 4-hour time frames. Okay. If we can break above the 200 SMA, 64-ish, right? I think we have opportunity to push up locally 67, 68 roughly. So I'm looking at the share perspective here as well, with possibly some short-dated options into April, but I'll go a lot less risk on those options and try to make basically the equivalent on those shares as well. So that's what I'm looking at there. That's my plan. That's what I'm looking at right now in the market. Now, if we start to show weakness, I'll start to de-risk, but I want to see signs of continuation early on in the week, right? And I don't think there's anything that's going to really necessarily bring us down right now because of all the data that's been coming in that still looks pretty beneficial for us right now. Again, that's my opinion. If things start to change, I'll address it. I'll tell you if my strategy changes whatsoever. But we need to understand there's a few things happening right now. Technically speaking, you look great. Fundamentally speaking, you don't look fantastic. You look pretty terrible. But again, you got to stay with the trend. You got to understand, are you a day trader or a long-term trader? Are you a swing trader or are you a scalper? Understand where you're at and how you have to make money every single day. If you have questions, comment down below. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one, traders.